I want to introduce a new series called the Seduction Series. Seduction is a superpower. It is the power of influence and enchantment too. It's like we go under the spell of something or someone. Its effect is subtle and also insidious, so we might miss its hold over us, but it has the power to hold us tightly in its grip. We usually think of seduction between a man and a woman, but actually it's everywhere in our lives. It permeates our culture, it's in advertising, in marketing, in politics. It's the same casting of a spell, luring someone towards you with power. But I want to talk about an unconventional way of looking at seduction. It's not just people or marketing on the outside of us, but the inside. Our emotions, for instance, our moods, our thoughts and feelings, our attitudes and our habits, like anger, disappointment, despair, even self-absorption like narcissism. They suck us in and blindly seduce us for long periods of time. And I want to emphasize here that such is the power of negativity, all negativity. It's a dark energy, like a black hole where we disappear into, and it robs us of the possibility of getting out of it. My point is that we allow ourselves to be sucked in by a strong force that we feel we cannot resist. Yet, we are co-creators in this force, and we are co-creators of our happiness. Then why do we do this? Simply because we don't know we have another choice. The purpose of this series is to learn ways to see through the gloom to the other side, where hope lives. There is a win we really want to get to. That is its purpose. Life always gives us a win in every challenging, stressful situation. It's our job to find it. So, through this series, let's explore the real reason underneath our attraction to these unpleasant emotions, why we allow ourselves to stay in the dark, and let's explore the journey to the other side of the rainbow, shall we?
Join spiritual psychologist and India's #1 biofeedback practitioner, Ritu Malhotra, as she guides you through the paths of self-discovery and personal transformation so that you can live in alignment with your values and purpose. You are listening to the Cellular Alchemist podcast, and here's your host, Ritu Malhotra.
The seduction of irritation. There are times when anything can irritate us. When a partner is too slow or walks too fast, when someone is rude, or even when they're too eager to agree with us. Irritation can be about any and everything, or about nothing at all. It is a feeling that is searching for a cause. And you can be sure that it's going to find a reason to get inflamed. That is the nature of irritation. Many times I've heard myself say, it's too hot. Don't they have better fans in this place? Or I've heard myself say, I don't care to listen to your music. Shut the loudspeakers. We should have a law against noise pollution. Or when someone says this to me, I can say, what do you mean I'm irritated? I'm not. But you tell me, should they be driving on the wrong side of the road? I'm sure you've felt the same in many situations. When we are in the grip of irritation, we are the least reflective. It's as though something takes hold of us and off we go. Some part of me knows that I'm being ridiculous. But then I can't look at it too closely, can I? Even my speciousness could irritate me. Can this irritability seduce us into other negative behaviors too? That's something to think about. Let's see what is seductive about irritation. It sort of skirts around anger but doesn't really blow up. So I huff and I sigh, but I don't come crashing down in anger. It seduces me into believing that I'm not really committing a crime. I mean, I'm not really angry, I'm only fretting. When I'm irritable, I have accumulated annoyances from long ago, which is where we predictably say, "You always do this to me. You know, it annoys me when you're late." I remember my father at the dining table after a particularly harrowing day at work. He would raise his voice. "Pass the salt. How many times have I told you to taste the food before you're serving it? And must you make fish on Sunday? You know how many times I have suffered with stuck fish bones? Do you want me to choke?" And at these moments, we would not talk back, of course. And silently, we endured his bursts and tone and pitch. He got prickly and crotchety and grumbled, but we knew it wouldn't last, so we couldn't take it seriously. That was just him. And there are many, many such moments that we all go through in our relationships. Some of you may even remember the story of the princess and the pea. Even an infinitely small discomfort was unbearable for a pampered princess. We allow our imagination to be hijacked by the smallest of irritants, don't we? And that's really amazing. So the question to ask ourselves is, what is irritating me? If it's a sweater or something, you can take it off. But with emotions, it's not so easy. Partly because they are not obvious, and partly because by admitting, we will need to take some responsibility. Irritation says there's something hidden. It's a signal. Something we are powerless over, like grief perhaps, or hurt. We need to start with acceptance of what you can and what you can't do about it. Accepting what you can do is far more important. Since this whole series is about finding the win in all of the challenges and stress-producing events in our lives, let's see what we can do to find the positive lessons in being irritable. First, look at how you define your irritation. Do you define it as a problem? What if you see it not as a problem, but as something to be aware of, and to choose a different and better response to the issue that usually irritates you? Irritation or any stressful behavior comes from a stuck space. Know this very clearly. It's stuck energy. It needs to be free flowing again, which is really the natural state of the body. So start moving, walk, run, exercise, do yoga perhaps, anything that moves the energy. An irritable reaction is also an excess of energy at times that fuels this. So find a quiet place. Disengage from commotion in people. Listen to soothing music or just pleasant sounds like flowing water, birds chirping, anything that calms the mind for a few minutes. And you'll find it's easier to change your mind. So the win is that you Now know that there are things you need to pleasure yourself with. And the bigger the win is the knowing that you have a choice of response rather than a reaction. Whenever there is an irritating situation, step back. Step back and review the situation. Ask yourself, how much does it matter? And most times you'll realize it doesn't really matter that much. Practice saying to yourself, it doesn't matter. Count and see how many times in the day you can say to yourself, it doesn't matter. I noticed that it could be bothered by mini irritants throughout the day. Things that other people wouldn't probably notice. That's when I say to myself, it doesn't matter. It works if you promise this to yourself. Say it out loud, not in your head. Say it for 21 days to make a significant change. Now that's a win, isn't it?
That was this week's episode for the Cellular Alchemist podcast with spiritual psychologist Ritu Malhotra. Don't forget to follow the podcast on your listening app so that when the new episode drops, you do not miss out on the chance to change your life by changing your beliefs.